Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun, plop down on the living room floor with a big bowl of sugary cereal, and watch all your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
I'm Chris.
And this morning, we watched the Ren and Stimpy Show.
Yeah, I accidentally, when we announced this one, mistakenly referred to it as just Ren and Stimpy, but it's the Ren and Stimpy Show. My bad. I apologize to America and everyone else.
You know what? Until I actually looked it up, I always just assumed it was called Ren and Stimpy. I did too. I didn't realize the rest was tagged onto it. Even though I had watched this when I was younger, it never occurred to me. Yeah, but that is to differentiate it now from the Ren and Stimpy like adult party cartoon show.
Yeah. I don't know what all that's about, but cool, I guess.
Yeah. The Ren and Stimpy Show aired from 91 to 96, created by John Kricfalusi, or John K., which is what we'll call him for the rest of the time because I don't want to say that name anymore, and his production company Spumco. This produced by Viacom and Paramount, ran for 5 seasons, 52 episodes, originally aired on Nickelodeon, and also the Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon show, which came much later, aired on Spike TV, which at the time was TNN. And for a short synopsis, the gross misadventures of a hyper chihuahua and a stupid cat. That's pretty accurate. That
is on the nose.
Yeah.
This is the most accurate description we've ever gotten.
Short and sweet, yeah. So, Chris, who are some actors in this show?
There's not very many. So, the character of Ren was originally voiced by John Kricfalusi for several episodes until his contract was actually terminated by Nickelodeon. I don't know exactly what led to that, but he was terminated, and then...
That's something we'll get into a little bit later, because I kind of know what the cause was, but yeah, I'll talk about it in a little bit.
Sweet. And then his Ren's part was then taken over by his co-host, who was already voicing Stimpson J. Cat, which was Billy West. So eventually Billy West was doing both voices. And that's pretty much it. I mean, they're the only, like, reoccurring characters of the show, so... Ta-da!
Yeah, true, because a lot of other people just kind of dropped in for cameo roles or these every once in a while ones.
For an episode or two, and that'd be it.
Right. Like whoever played the Horseman.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Or Powdered Toast Man.
Oh, I love Powdered Toast Man.
Just those various cameos. Or even George Liquor, which we'll get to in a little bit. Here's a few tasty or maybe not so tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Ren and Stimpy cereal. Number 1, this is the first Nicktoon to have a video game based on it. And there are a few video games that are Ren and Stimpy centric. Did you ever play any of those on Super Nintendo?
No, I remember seeing them in Blockbuster when that was actually a thing. Well, I didn't think about that, but I'm like, you know what? I don't even remember a Rugrats or Doug game, honestly. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense that this was the first one to get a video game made. I remember the Are Real Monsters game.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there was ever a Doug game. I mean, what would you do on a Doug game? You have to be like a Shenmue type game where you just kind of walk through and live life normally.
Right, you just walk around and feel awkward all the time.
Yeah, you have an awkward meter that slowly rises.
Exactly, you would just get points for like making everything really awkward and embarrassing yourself.
One level is just you watching Patty Mayonnaise, but not letting her know you're watching her. If you get too close, your awkward meter shoots up. Yeah. That would have been a great game to play. It could still happen. Come on, Nickelodeon.
It could happen. Someone can revive that. Someone on the internet can just make it. Just do it. Just like I want someone to make like a World of Warcraft style Pokemon. Someone was working on it for a while. They got a cease and desist. And now I'm sad.
So getting back to Ren and Stimpy.
That's good, yeah.
Series creator John K. was adamant about Stimpy not having a thick, dopey-sounding voice commonly seen in dim-witted cartoon sidekicks. Having already chosen Billy West to provide Stimpy's voice, Mr. West tested a variety of voices until John K. finally settled on a Larry Fine-type voice.
And I love it. I think it's an awesome voice.
Yeah, Stimpy's
mainly because
voice
I'm a
is-
huge fan of the Stooges from back in the day. So, and Larry was like probably the dumbest human being character I've ever seen in anything. So it was a perfect kind of voice to emulate.
And I'm sure we're going to spout other things off as the episode goes on. But last one I have here is, according to the episode, like Mad Dog Hoek, Visit to Anthony, and Stimpy's fan club, Ren and Stimpy live in beautiful Hollywood, Yugoslavia.
What?
Yeah. That is their, so apparently that is their residence, is
Hollywood, Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So what memories do you have of this show?
Oh, I definitely remember this show. I had kind of like a love-hate relationship with it as a kid, because at first I really liked it, and then I started realizing I didn't understand a lot of it. and the kids that I knew in school that did watch it were huge nerds. And and then they would always talk like Ren when they were being assholes to me. And then it made me not like the cartoon. But there was a lot of like memorable things from it, because even though I didn't really care for the main characters that much, like I liked Stimpy. Ren I didn't like as much. I like him more now than I did as a kid. I didn't like him at all as a kid. But I liked like the horse guy and Powdered Toast Man, and one of my favorite things was the log commercial. Where they're like the little kids just singing about a log.
Sing some of it. I'm gonna see if I remember some of it too.
Log rolls downstairs, goes over in pairs, runs over your neighbor's dog.
Right. Yeah, that's part of it.
All right.
Log, log, log. And then the chorus, you have to know the chorus.
Oh yeah, it's log, log. Then forgot the rest.
It's big, it's heavy, it's wood.
Oh yeah, there we go. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood.
And
it's better than bad. It's good.
Yes. Everyone wants a log. You're going to love it, log. It's log. It's log. Log, log, log. I think that's the end.
Yeah, that was pretty good. You're like Celine Dion level of like singing entertainment about logs.
About logs. But no, that song has stuck with me my whole life. So yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I think that's my favorite thing that come out of this show was log.
Yeah.
Dude, we're gonna have to like karaoke some like Ren and Stimpy tunes, like Happy Happy Joy Joy and Log.
Oh, dude, if we're ever at a convention of our own and have like a table, we have to just do that.
Definitely, like we have to now. Now that it's been mentioned, we're doing it.
Yeah, under the Cartoon Boom label, we have to do that.
Yes.
Like it's just mandatory. So your memories were a little bit scarred, but you still recovered from it, and you still can appreciate Ren and Stimpy. Yeah. I was really focused on the grossness of it as a kid, and they cut it out after a while, like the more it went on. But what they used to do all the time is those zoom in shots of like the really detailed painting, like gross things like pimples and boogers and little body hairs and things like that. Yeah. And that was something that I was so fascinated by as a kid, because it completely changed the flow of the episodes. Because it's like the regular animation, and then you have just like, and it'll have a really gross picture of something.
Like somebody's armpit in like huge detail, and you can see like nasty, discolored sweat dripping from it or something real gross.
Exactly. And so that's what stuck with me my whole life. I mean, that aside from that, a lot of the characters and the songs as well, of course. One we'll talk about in a little bit, Happy Happy Joy Joy.
Yeah, it's weird because that animation style, like, it's something that I don't think I liked it as a kid, but now when I see it, I'm like, I think it's really cool because I don't remember seeing that kind of style necessarily before that point.
Yeah, like it's really
then again,
stylized.
we were kids, but I mean, still.
It's really stylized, and things aren't always the colors that they seem like they should be.
Right.
And so it's almost very artistic in that way.
I think the only cartoon I can think of that's done something similar since is SpongeBob SquarePants. Mm-hmm. That's the only one I can name offhand that is I have definitely seen use that same technique. But yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like I didn't care for it that much, but as it just being a different animation style, I think it's really cool. Just because it's so unique.
Yeah. Speaking of SpongeBob, I think that's one of the many shows that owes a lot of the type of show that it is on
definitely.
Ren and Stimpy. Yeah, they paved the way for a lot of that.
Yeah, there's several shows. SpongeBob, South Park was definitely another one.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. I'll talk about more like of that stuff kind of later, but yeah, there's definitely some influence on other shows.
Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and jump into the 3 episodes that we watched for today's show. The very first episode, the highest rated episode, and finally, random or listener chosen episode. Order, of course, varies depending on how these episodes fall chronologically. But of course, we always start with the very first episode. But in this case, it was actually the 0 episode, the pilot being Big House Blues, Season 1, Episode 0. And in this 8-minute pilot, Ren Hoek, a short-tempered chihuahua, and Stimpy, the tailless, dim-witted cat, they get sent to the pound.
Did Stimpy have any lines in this first episode?
He had a couple, but it wasn't until a little bit later in the episode. It was very Ren heavy at first.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I can't think of him having a single line.
Yeah, it really wasn't much because I remember thinking that as well.
It's weird. Yeah, I mean, because it's weird because I didn't pick up on it during the episode, but now I'm like, oh, now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, so they get taken to the pound, and at first they're really ecstatic about it because, you know, they get housing, they get free meals. It's basically like what some people use prison as, which is just an escape and a way to get 3 meals a day. And
Right.
yeah, they're partying, they're super excited. And then one of the dogs partying gets taken away. When Ren inquires about it, he's told that he's going to sleep. The more he thinks about it, he's like, oh yeah, I could use a nap too and all this. And then he's like, no. The big sleep.
The big sleep!
He starts freaking out about it. That's when you get to see his really like mantic hyper personality.
This goes back and forth between my 2 favorite sides to Ren. There's really like 3 sides to him. The first side is really just him just kind of existing and not really having any thought. Like he'll have a vacant expression on his face and he might make a few noises, but he just doesn't do anything. And then he goes to this other extreme where he's just super freaking out. Like, I'm just losing his mind, and he gets really aggressive. But then that third one is where it's more instead of on the like freaking out side, it's more on the angry side. Like at the point where he's not even yelling, he's just like you, and like threatening to like kill Stimpy and stuff. So those are the 3 like extremes. My favorite are the vacant expression and then him just freaking out, to which we get like right there, and it's really funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to point out, these episodes that we watched, and the majority of these episodes were only about 7 minutes long. In this one, we watched, and I'm assuming you watched the uncut version of the episode where Ren is having this long dream and accidentally kisses Stimpy.
Oh, he's like fondling him and all kinds of stuff. Like, it got a little weird.
Yeah, like that wasn't aired until it was placed on the DVD for the Adult Party cartoon show.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that portion had been cut out.
See, that seems weird. I don't know why that would have been cut out.
Yeah, I don't know why that was cut out necessarily, but
there's not a lot of rhyme and reason to some of this stuff.
But at least we got to see it. Overall, though, I guess to end that episode, they get adopted by this little girl. First, it's just Ren because he looks like a poodle because he has some of Stimpy's hairballs on him.
Yeah, the Stimpy, and what took him like almost a minute to barf up this hairball, finally like barfs it up violently, and it covers Ren, and it makes him look like a poodle. So a little girl is like, oh, I want the poodle. And then adopts Ren, and then they're leaving, and Ren's like, yeah, and Stimpy's just looking all sad. So then Ren like yells at the little girl like right in the face and says that she has to take him or else she can't have either of them. And she's like, okay.
So that's how they get adopted out. But something interesting to point out is, okay, so Ren and Stimpy are best friends, they're best buds, and they're always together. But something else that's not too well known is that they are also a gay couple.
What? I didn't know that. Oh my gosh.
That was confirmed by John Kay, is that they're gay as well.
Oh, okay.
But it's not something they can really push out there as far as the original episodes go. But I think in the Adult Party cartoon episodes, the ones that were
like
way
made
after,
for adults.
And made more for adults, they actually kind of show some of that, or I guess vocalize it more.
Huh. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense now. Like, especially like Stimpy's kind of personality and the way he talks to Ren.
Yeah, Stimpy's very like a housewife-ish.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm pretty sure like he dresses housewife-ish more than once.
Yeah.
So Not the ones that we watched this time, but I vaguely remember some things.
Yeah,
like that, so.
we've seen that before. Definitely,
that makes a lot of sense now. Okay.
Yeah, I should have put that in the interesting facts part, but
Well,
there it is.
now I can see. Now I see why Nickelodeon's like, we're not comfortable with doing that, because maybe they were picking up on that vibe, and that was at a point where television was definitely not accepting of that kind of stuff yet, like at all.
Yeah.
In fact, the first like homosexual relationship, I think, really in American cartoons was just a couple years ago, honestly, which I think was Legend of Korra.
Yeah, I think as far as kid-approved cartoons, that was probably the first one that I can think of too. Yeah, Ren and Stimpy did it first, but in a very subtle way.
The more you know.
Da-na-na-na. So let's jump on to the second episode that we watched, Stimpy's Invention, Season 1, Episode 6B, which is the highest rated, actually. After Ren tries some of Stimpy's inventions that work poorly, Stimpy invents a happy helmet to make Ren feel happier. But this is the episode that introduces Happy Happy Joy Joy.
You know what? Like, before you mentioned the thing about how they were trying to make Stimpy's voice like Larry Fine, I actually wrote that in my notes. I'm like, this dude sounds like Larry from the Stooges, like a lot.
Yeah.
And like it became very obvious. And they did this bit in here too that Larry and the Stooges did a few times, where he would try to say like not even like a big word, but he would be trying to sound more literate than he is, and he would pronounce a word wrong but put emphasis on it, like he was trying to brag that he knows this word.
Can you think of the word?
Well, like in this one, Stimpy goes observe, like trying to say observe. Right. This is an episode that I absolutely remember, like everything from being a kid.
This was a great episode. I liked the part also. I liked his other inventions too. The one where it was the cheese phone, where you can talk to cheese no matter what the culture or what the language or something.
Right. He's like, say something in Limburger.
Yeah.
The remote shaver. I could use that.
And then that's what leads to Ren being unhappy, which Stimpy also feels like he needs to fix. And so in a very mad scientist-esque scene, he is creating this helmet with all these, as he's using like mallets. He uses a beaver, a duck at one point.
I forgot.
Has all his random animals. Yeah, just random animals.
One thing that I love in that they do in this is they go somewhat out of character, especially with like I mean, they do it with almost every character in the show, but with Stimpy in this scene, you know, he's like a bumbling idiot, but they show him all serious, like doing all this stuff. And he does this, he says, in his voice, but in like a completely different voice than what he usually sounds like. So he's all serious doing stuff where you would think Stimpy would be like, Instead, he's like, Right, yeah. It reminds me of those like old pulp fiction kind of things back from like the 50s and stuff like that, like the adventure, like kind of you know, mad scientist dudes or like scientist hero kind of guys and stuff like
also where he like has like a thick lip where he's just like like his hands up against his chin and stuff. He's thinking very right. Very intently.
It's pretty good stuff.
That leads him to making this happy helmet, which is a monstrosity in and of itself. It looks like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like if you put two thermoses together, like that's kind of what it looks like.
It does somewhat look like that.
And then
there's
just
some more on top, but
he forces it on Ren's head, flips a switch, and then you just see Ren struggling so much to hold off to not smile.
Right.
But it is like basically crushing his bones to make him smile.
To make him smile. It's like cringy smiling.
And that's kind of a really disturbing scene because you just hear all these noises like
oh, that's something that happens a lot in this show, and in the next episode, it happens a whole lot. But I'm gonna wait to talk about that because there's a whole thing with that. But you hear like crunching noises and almost like glass breaking noises when he smiles and stuff. It's just ridiculous.
But the best part is that he leaves him in this state of unintentional happiness for the remainder of the episode, basically. And he is just so, like, he can't even sleep. He's so happy. He's like, just...
His eyes are all bloodshot and he just looks like garbage.
Just always smiling and always... Smiling. always doing stuff for
Oh, it's
Stimpy, like
creepy.
ironing his clothes and stuff.
But we got to talk about the song.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Stimpy, after he gives him the helmet, he gets this record player out and he's got this record and he's like, it's my favorite song. Happy, happy, joy, joy. And like puts it on. And it's this like what sounds like a live acoustic recording of like a folk song for kids or something.
But what the guy's saying in the background is
there's
hilarious.
really disturbing shit
Yeah.
in this song. Towards this one part, kind of towards the end, he's basically confessing to murdering somebody by shooting them.
I told you I'd pull the trigger. Why didn't you believe me?
You didn't believe me? Why didn't you believe me?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I didn't catch that as a kid. See, like, it's so weird to me that things like Ren kissing Stimpy gets cut, but like stuff like this gets left in. Like, because we saw this as a kid. How? Like, what was Nickelodeon's thought process?
That's something I definitely didn't catch as a kid, but this time it made me laugh a lot hearing that. I actually rewound it a couple times to hear the rest of what he was saying.
Right, like, is that what I think I just heard?
So it brings us the joyous, happy, happy, joy, joy song that is driving Ren literally mad. He goes and grabs a hammer, and this is a really disturbing scene also of him just like, basically to the beat, he's just slamming this helmet and his head with this hammer, just trying to break control.
I remember that scene because that scene they used in all of the like Nicktoon commercials, like on Nickelodeon back in the day.
Yep.
It would be like
the
music.
scene of them dancing.
Yeah, it would be music. You would see clips of the different like Nicktoons and stuff like that. You would see Ren and Stimpy smacking their butts together, and then Ren slamming his head with that hammer over and over.
Yeah, that was just such a good episode. It's no wonder it's the highest rated. Like, I love this episode.
Definitely.
So that brings us to the last episode that we watched, which was originally going to be season 2, episode 4, but it ended up being banned. And that's why I chose it, because I like watching these weird episodes that we really never got to see as kids. This one's called Man's Best Friend. Ren and Stimpy are adopted by George Liquor to be his pets. The next day, Ren and Stimpy awaken to find George Liquor dressed up as a drill sergeant to train them to be proper pets.
The reason that they banned this doesn't make sense to me. There's so many, at least the reason that they gave doesn't make sense, because there's so many other parts in this show, like I was talking about before. There's so much violence in this cartoon, and that stuff gets kept in. The reason this got banned was because the guy's name was Liquor.
I've heard a couple things. I mean, it was Liquor, and also because of the massive violence that they used against him at the end, where one of his eyeballs even kind of bulges out.
It pops out.
Yeah, so
it literally pops out. Oh yeah, that makes sense then, because like when I was on like I don't know if I was on Wikipedia, I was on something, and the only thing they listed was the guy's name being Liquor is the reason it was banned.
No, this is also, and this is what I was kind of mentioning earlier, this is also part of the reason why it's believed that John K. was released from the show was because of this episode.
Wow, really?
Yeah, yep. Huh. Because he was pushing for it, and they had creative differences, and so Nickelodeon let him go because of this episode.
Creative differences is code for like, we hate you.
Yeah.
Like anytime a band splits up and they're like, oh, it's creative differences, it's like, we will never talk to each other ever again.
So just so the listeners know, when Chris and I have creative differences, you'll understand what the coding means.
Exactly.
In this episode, he's just this like, he's this short, kind of like if you remember Cotton Hill from King of the Hill, he's just like a short guy, short army guy, buzz cut and everything. And he's intent on making these pets the perfect pets. For rewards, he gives them like what looks like basically pieces of poop, but they are cigar-shaped dog treats.
I think it's called lawn jerky or something like that.
Yeah, lawn jerky, right.
But, so, yeah, they're pretty much just saying
it's poop. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, George Liquor is drawn so weird. Like, he always has like this really intense look on his face. Like, I mean, a lot of characters in this show, they do this to them. Like, the eyes look like they're always bulging out. It looks like they've been constipated for a week because like they're like grinning way bigger than they should. Their eyes are sticking out. You can see veins sticking out of their necks.
Right.
And every move, especially this character, every move he makes it sounds like bones are crunching or grinding together. Even if he's just like staring, like you hear it. It just it creeps me out, honestly.
I think that was the intention. It was one of those episodes. It was just really gross in a weird way. It was really uncomfortable, is what it was. And so what it leads to is actually one part I want to point out is when he's like, "Don't get up on the couch," but then he's telling them to get up on the couch.
Yeah,
and they're just like, "What do I do?" And then I think Stimpy eventually does, and then he just flips out.
But then rewards them anyway.
It rewards them with some lawn jerky, right?
Yeah. I love the fish because when he first takes them home, he doesn't have anywhere for them to sleep. So he turns over this fish bowl and dumps the fish out and sticks them both in. And the fish is just kind of like, screw this, and like gets up and he puts on like a hat and like a coat and walks out, and he steals the dude's car. And like wrecks it on the way out too. That was like honestly probably my favorite part. Oh, there is a callback to it, and I totally forgot about it because at one point, so Ren he's like fed up with all of it and starts beating the crap out of George Liquor with like a paddle.
Yeah.
And says something to him about he could leave or something like that. I think he was berating Ren for being too much of a pansy or something. And Ren says something at the point of like, "I would, but your fish stole your car."
Yeah.
just in passing, just said it. And I was just really glad they called that back because that gag was my favorite.
That was really good. And yeah, so what George Liquor does is he dresses himself up in one of those like the dog attack suits where you train the dogs to be attack dogs. And you're wearing those suits, but then, like you said, Ren gets fed up and just starts beating him with a bat or something.
Like in the face.
Yeah.
One of his eyeballs pops out at one point. Like,
yeah. This scene here specifically is the one that supposedly got this episode banned and also inevitably led to John Kay being fired from the show.
There's definitely other episodes that I think are more violent than this one, because I remember... I don't know what episode it is, but I specifically remember an episode where Ren is like hardcore, like threatening to kill Stimpy. I don't get some of the logic that Nickelodeon used as far as what's getting cut and what doesn't. I get this one being cut because it did go really violent, but there's other gags and things they did that were way worse than this, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this one was because it was violence against a human, and so
Could
that
be.
kind of made it different since the rest is just animal... I mean, not the animal violence is good, but these are animated animals, so it's really detached.
We live in a world of, Pokemon, which is basically animal fights. So
it's animated dog fights.
Fun characters.
Exactly. But Chris, I think it's about time for us to bust out the soap and get ready to wash our inner kids' mouths out when we ask them what they thought of the Ren and Stimpy Show.
All right, let me fetch this little guy from the pound.
I love dogs and cats. Especially stupid ones. But Ren is super mean, and he always yells, like when my mom catches Dad wearing her clothes. But I really love Stimpy because he looks like a big red pillow with a big blue nose, and I want to sleep on him. And all the people are really weird. Some of them weren't very funny, but some of them were. I didn't like the show as much, but I know that future Chris likes it. So to meet in the middle, I'm gonna give it 4 bowls of powdered toast cereal out of 5. Log rolls downstairs, goes over them pears, rolls over your neighbor's dog. It fits on your back, it's great for a snack. It's log, log, log.
Personally, I believe that I can attribute some valuable life lessons to viewing the Ren and Stimpy Show. This cartoon taught me, via extreme zoom in, that picking my nose, farting, and having gross body odor can actually be quite hilarious. Basically, it's okay to be gross. Come to think of it, these lessons are more akin to the bad kid at school teaching you your first swear words, like poop head, or the dreaded F word, fuddruckers. Pardon my French. All in all, as gross and smelly as it was, the Ren and Stimpy Show pushed the envelope and helped pave the way for numerous other shows of similar vulgarity. I'll give this 4 big bowls of boogers and bile cereal, where the milk turns green but not because of food coloring, out of 5, and I highly recommend it, if you think you can stomach it. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy.
Somebody get me a hammer.
Do you have any final thoughts on the Ren and Stimpy Show before we get out here?
The Ren and Stimpy Show, I think, like the younger me said, it did pave the way for a lot of shows that we see even now, and taking them to a level of grossness that we didn't see previously, and I guess didn't know could be as funny as they are. Kids are all about weird, gross things, and this is perfect for that. And also even has the adult appeal to it. So overall, I mean, I just think it's a great show.
Oh yeah, definitely. I honestly think that one of the problems with this show is that it was ahead of its time. There was an audience for a show like this, but there wasn't like a real good medium for it because there wasn't a thing like Adult Swim, and we didn't have Comedy Central, at least to the capacity that it is now, where cartoons like this now, like more adult, somewhat oriented cartoons, are like really like a hot commodity now. Like, I mean, they're all over the place. There's tons of them. So shows like, South Park and Family Guy and things like that really owe a lot to this show. So yeah, it is a really fine line for young kids in this show. Where I think some of it is totally fine for kids to watch. I think, like, again, some of it maybe wait a little bit, but as an adult, it's hilarious. So there's that. And it has importance in cartoon history. There's no denying that, because it was a predecessor for so much of the things we have now. I don't think we would have an Adult Swim if shows like Ren and Stimpy didn't exist before.
Definitely. Well, listeners, it looks like our milk supply has now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, we'll be watching
Freakazoid! That's me flying. But by flying, I mean I'm running around with my arms in the air going You'll see next week, kids.
And once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth,
a place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.